Alrighty guys, as you can bring us into the Dragon Ball Legends ToP guide video for Season 16. Before we continue, there is always going to be timestamps in the description down below. That way you guys can go ahead and get where you need to be. We're going to start off with my top 5 teams. The team that I'm going to use for the walkthrough video, right, later on in the season. And you know, going through the new characters as well as tips and tricks for this season's board of fights. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Alrighty, so the first team that I wanted to go ahead and talk about is going to be Sagas from the movies. As always, on the right hand side of the screen, I will have someone else's formation from the leaderboard. This guy is ranked number 3, Dragon, and this is the formation that I would be using right here, right? So I think the new Broly and even the new Goku and Vegeta are amazing for this. I know we're going to be breaking down the new units later on, but we can actually go. I think this is the perfect moment to talk about Broly right here, right? Because he has a buff against Saiyans right off the bat. That's already a massive plus for me, because you're going to see a lot of Saiyans no matter what during this game mode and stuff like that, right? Just because of the nature of Dragon Ball Legends, it's going to revolve around Saiyans. Plus 25% to damage inflicted, and at the start of the first turn, he's going to get another 60% of damage inflicted. He's going to get some damage cut by 20%, and the most important part, I think this really sells it for me, is that he gets 30% to special move gauge. It's only at the start of the first turn, right? So it's not like this is going to continuously stack throughout your fights, but just having that special move gauge charge rate is absolutely massive. He also has this right here, where after he receives a strike or a blast arts attack, he's going to get 5% to special move gauge as well. So this is where he starts stacking it, right? So just having that blue card gauge rate up is just absolutely massive for any unit of that nature, right? And as for the blue boys, where they're also in Z tier right here, right? I think so they also have blue card charge rate, right? The special move gauge charge rate. They get plus 20%, cannot be canceled at the start of the battle. So once again, it's only going to be at the start of the battle, but still, that's absolutely massive to me. And once they go below 50% HP, they recover their own health by 10%, so they do have a healing factor right there. And if you're going against, like, say you're going against a bunch of yellow units, obviously that's not good for your purple units, but on attack against unfavorable elements, you will perform a tag switch and reverse the elemental factors. This only activates twice, but it's still pretty massive. And at the end of the second turn, you're going to be able to activate your green card essentially and restore your own health by 3%, get 30% to damage inflicted, and get another 15% to your special move gauge. These guys are absolutely insane. So there's those 2 new units out of the way right there, right? But overall, I think the Bojacks still carry. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna run movies without my Bojacks. Like, I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. Purple Bojack, he's going to be getting his blue card at the end of the turn 2, basically. Right, so he's getting it on turn 2, but since his key restore speed is so low, it's going to be like at the end of turn 2. Red Bojack, he gets it towards the beginning of turn 2, but it's going to be his awakened art, so it's not going to be able to kill on impacts, which does suck, but he's still absolutely amazing. Goku, he's there just because Goku is just absolutely, he's pretty damn good, right? He has a high key restore speed once he transforms. He has a blue card, he also has blue card shenanigans as well. 40% to special move gauge at the start of the second turn, you know. And then I also have this Regen, and you guys might be thinking, like, listen, like, this dude doesn't even buff Sagas from movies. He's only 22% to tag, regeneration based strike, and blast defense. And yes, I know he's only buffs regeneration, but he's so damn good that I don't care. I don't care if I'm missing out on one Z ability, and plus he kind of makes up for it, for me at least, right? Because he Zenkai buffs element purple and tag powerful opponent, which the purple Bojack does apply to, right? If you want some filler units on here, you could also use that purple Vegeta. I do believe he is Z tier as well. This guy right here, right? This guy is absolutely phenomenal. He's a really, really good tank. And if you want a filler unit for like a yellow unit, just in case you don't have this healing Goku, you can always use the Super Saiyan 2 transforming Gohan, who is available from the Dash Start missions, by the way. You get 3k Z power for him. Overall, very solid team. You have a lot of units in Z tier, and if you need B, you can go ahead and dip into S tier. The only one that I really think you need from S tier, like absolutely might need, is this red Bojack right here. Like, this guy, he's not using either of the Bojacks, and I don't know how I really feel about that, but obviously he's ranked 3. He's still getting very, very high scores, but at the same time, he has a lot of stars on a majority of his units as well. Alright, for the next team that I want to talk about has to be Androids, man. This is typically my go-to team due to how good they are and how many stars I have on them, as well as the Zenkais, right? I have the Zenkai Super 17, the Zenkai 16. Those two units I think are definitely needed. Obviously, I have the free-to-play 21. That's a free-to-play units. I think everyone, majority, at least seasoned players should all have the Android 21 Zenkai, unless you unfortunately missed out like in terms of like if you didn't have the energy to do so or the resources to do so. Either way, when she comes back around, you guys should all definitely farm her. I think she's a completely valuable and definitely worth it overall, right? But either way, that aside, Zenkais are definitely needed, especially with 16 and 17. Red 18 is your healer, only for the top left diagonal and the top right diagonal. So where 16 is and where this 18 is, that's where she is going to be healing, right? So it doesn't matter where she is on the board, it's always going to be those diagonals. So if I put her in this top right corner, she's going to be healing nobody. Right, so that's very important to note. And if I put her right here, she's only going to be healing that blue 21. And you can actually see it when the squares glow like that. So I didn't really notice this, but in the last update, that's how it goes, right? So you're going to see what she's going to be able to buff. That's really helpful. So you can see right there, it flashed over 16 and 18. If I put her over here, it's going to flash over the blue 21. If I put her up here, it's going to only flash over herself only, right? So that's I think that's actually a really neat update that they have right there. So you can go ahead and test out, make sure you guys are buffing each other up. You don't want to just have a unit like this. Like if you have her up here, it's going to be completely worthless, right? So make sure you guys are double checking your teams, looking at their kits and stuff like that. But also, so I think on this guy's team that I have right here up on the screen, so he has the cell, the red cell right there. And if you're really struggling for another red unit, or maybe you want another red unit to pad your stats, consider this guy right here. The Super 13, he gets a guaranteed blue card at the start of the third turn, which is absolutely huge. The rest of his kit doesn't even really matter, but it's actually pretty nice that he has a strike cover change as well once an ally does get below 30% HP. You also have Tracksuit 18 as a worthy replacement for a blue unit for the free-to-play 21, right? You can see right here on the right-hand side, this guy actually has the Tracksuit 18 on the bench, but she has blue card charge rate up as well. 20% to special move damage, or 40% to special move gauge at the start of the second turn, where her Faith in Friends unique ability, she also has some of this other good stuff, where on strike or blast arts attack, she gets another 20% to damage inflicted. Pretty solid unit overall. Both of the new age androids, are for the ToP androids is what I should say, from ToP 17 and ToP 18, they're both really solid in their own rights. I have this guy on here, this Extreme Cell. The reason why I would bring him specifically for the season, and we'll go into it a little bit later, is because he has a 50% damage inflicted against tag androids. I think you already know where I'm going with this right here, but this is going to be an androids heavy board, an androids heavy season in terms of your opponents. And then finally, in terms of tiers, you're looking pretty good in terms of tiers, right? There's 4 units right here in Z tier, and then obviously you can dip into S tier right here as well. I do like running the Android 21s. Personally, I don't think that's necessarily optimal. It just works for me, right? Because they have such good synergy with each other. The purple 21 and the blue 21, they're going to be able to heal, right? The purple 21 actually gets double heal, right? She's getting a heal from the blue 21, and she heals herself as well. Plus this blue 21 right here offers really good support, especially on this first unique, that is, right? Look at all this support that she gives. So 15% to special move gauge charge rate for ally tag androids for 1 turn, 30% to key recovery for ally tag regeneration for 1 turn, and 20% damage inflicted by allied girls for 1 turn. And then restores health by 2% for ally tag transforming warriors. So obviously purple 21 I think is like one of the only units that can fulfill all of those, but everyone, since they're all androids, will be getting the special move gauge charge rate up, right, for 15% for that 1 turn. All right, now let's talk about some of these minions, man. So first of all, just hopping right into it, you're not really going to be seeing too many different setups right here, right, between me and this other guy that we have, right? The number 2 player, in fact, right, is just that I think the most important things to just get right into it is that the yellow and the blue Cybermen are absolutely necessary for this team right here, right? I don't think you are rarely going to see those 2 units missing from the optimal minion setup right here, right? Because the yellow Cyberman, he's your healer, right? He heals every single minion ally right here. At the end of the 3rd turn, ally tag minions, he restores all of their health by 4%, and that's a pretty good amount. By 4%, right? That's pretty good. And then this blue Cyberman, he has an insane blue card charge rate up, right? 30% to special move gauge at the start of turn. right? And that might not seem like a lot at first, but that's every single turn. There's 4 turns in a fight. You're basically going to get a guaranteed blue card every single turn. There's even been situations where I've been using this unit and I get 2 blue cards in 1 turn. There's a lot of good filler units for this team as well that I would like to point out, right? You don't have to be exclusive to minions. I think minions, this setup right here is probably the best, a combination of both the Pull Force and the Cyber Squad, but I have seen different setups, different variations where people will dip into Frieza Force and will start using like the LF Frieza or the free-to-play EX Ginyu Zenkai unit, or even the Ultra Vegeta, and those are some decent fillers there as well. But I personally think this is better right here, right? I think honestly too, just thinking on what's the best, this is the best free-to-play option to date within the entirety of ToP. At the very least of ToP, I don't think there's another free-to-play team that actually can compete with this, even with the inclusion of event exclusive, but I'm not too sure. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then the selling point on this is that all these units are in Z tier for this season, going to be able to give you some juicy points. For the next team I'm going to be talking about is Regeneration. So this is easily the safest team to use, man, especially after using them last season. In case you guys didn't know or weren't aware, this is the team that I opted for last season. If you go look at my walkthrough from last season, I absolutely breezed through this. I had no issues at all. I had no moments where I felt stressed out. I had no moments where anyone in my team died. Even Blue Tanks, right? Blue Tanks actually lived throughout the entire thing, and Blue Tanks is pretty squishy, but this is definitely due to the fact that I have him at Friendship Rank 10 member. This is something I probably should have said early on, but this is something that I'm going to be saying every single one of these guide videos, is that Friendship Rank does contribute to your overall stats in ToP. It caps out at rank 10, so you don't have to go past rank 10, but if you're going to have one specific team that you're going to be using throughout the entire duration of you playing ToP, then I would suggest getting them all to Friendship Rank 10, because that's where you're going to be getting the most out of them, right? The thing I like about Regeneration, though, is that there is so many filler units, man. Like, there's so many combinations, and there's a lot of units in Z tier right here, dude. Like, if you need a red unit, you can go ahead and bring in this Kid Buu. I like this Kid Buu a lot. You know, he might be a little bit squishy in some cases, but if you have the stars on him, every single time he uses a strike arts, he restores his own health by 2%, and that can add up. That's over 4 turns. Right, so you're getting 8% health back throughout an entire fight. If you don't want to use him as your red units, you can use this this cell right here if you have him Zenkai'd. You can even use this metal cooler if you have him Zenkai'd. And even better yet, you can go over here into S tier and use this Ultra Omega Shenron, who you can get to 14 stars for free. And although his damage may be a little bit lackluster because he's not being ran on a whole GT team, he's still going to be able to tank extremely well. You have your healers right here with Super Baby 2 and with this Fat Buu right here. Right, so you look at Super Baby 2, and he's going to be healing the blocks to the left and to the right of him, respectively, and himself as well. And a unit that I wanted to talk about is this Goku Black right here. So this unit, he basically has it all, man. Look at the character tags on this dude. He has God Key, he has Future, he has Regeneration, he has Saiyan, he has Powerful Opponents, and most importantly, he has Super Saiyan Rose. Well, jokes aside, let's go ahead and take a look at his kit right here, right? Because he's also one of the new units. He has this buff effect where he nullifies attribute downgrades. He gets damage cut -5%, another -5%, and then a -30%. Dude, he's going to be absolutely he's going to be unkillable. Definitely going to be unkillable, especially when you're running hills. And if you have the Fat Buu on the field at the same time as him, he's going to be getting those Zenkai buffs because he is Regeneration, right? And then he also has a 70% to damage inflicted, which I imagine is going to be good. And after receiving an attack, he restores his own health by 2%. Plus, he also gets 5% to his special move gauge as well, which is definitely on the lower end, on the way lower end, but it's still valuable nonetheless. The one con about this guy is the fact that he does not buff Regeneration itself. It's only Future and God Key, but you know, honestly, that's fine with me. That's definitely fine with me. If you guys don't have him or you guys don't want to use him, you have a lot more free-to-play options for the green unit at the very least, right? You have this free-to-play Kid Buu, and although this guy might not be free-to-play, he's pretty old. This metal cooler is he's actually very solid. And even if you want a Z-tier green unit, this Buhan's pretty good. You know, this Cell is pretty good. Even this Android 21, this good Android 21 is pretty good, right? It's definitely pretty good. And then once again, you're going to be seeing this trend. This Piccolo right here, the Zenkai Piccolo, he has a damage buff against androids or future. So definitely something that's very, very valuable right there, right? In terms of tiers, they have a lot of units in Z tier, and then you can even dip into the S tier to go ahead and pick up your healers. Right, your healers are going to be Super Baby 2, and it's going to be the Fat Boo. I think one of the OP units on this team is definitely going to be this LF Zenkai Piccolo. He absolutely makes this so damn easy, and this Janemba as well. This Janemba not only doing amazing damage, but also has damage mitigation. Before receiving a Blast Arts card, he activates the green card and completely nullifies it. Absolutely beautiful team. They flow so damn well together. This team was meant for ToP. This team has never been a bad team in ToP. Alright, so for my final top team that I want to go ahead and talk about, and remember, when I say my final top team, it definitely doesn't mean these are the only teams that you can use to get into the top 6K of ToP, right? Because another team that's definitely a team that I feel like is absolutely solid, probably one of the better teams actually, is GT, right? GT is one of those teams. I know I got a couple of comments last season too, was that where's GT at? GT is still absolutely phenomenal. You slap on the Shadow Dragons on there, Kid Goku Super Saiyan 3, you know, you got the Zenkais, the Zenkai Kid Goku, the Zenkai Super 17, and you're absolutely good to go right now. You can go ahead and still use that and be extremely successful. But I want to talk about some different teams every now and then as well, right? So this is the Vegeta family team that I have to talk about, right? I absolutely have to talk about right here because they're so good. They actually are so good right now. They have tons of support. You have the Trunks and the Goku Vegeta unit that can be used on the team at the same time, right? So, you know, speaking of that, let's go ahead and look at the Trunks unit, right? At the Trunks right here, at the start of the first turn, he activates special action, which is a green card. He immediately gets 90% to damage inflicted. 90%. He gets a 20% damage cut, another 20% damage inflicted on a strike arts, and after he receives an attack, he continues to stack his own damage cut by 10%. He also has this ability right here where he's going to be able to do a cover change on the 4 corners of the board, so you kind of want him in the middle slot for sure. Right, he does a strike cover change at only if your ally is 40% HP or below. That's actually pretty good considering most cover units, they require a 30% HP threshold, right? But at the start of turn, if your own health is 50% or below, you're going to be able to heal yourself by 10%, and it's basically getting your gauge, right? It's basically getting your gauge because you get that 10% heal, 20% to damage inflicted, 20% to ultimate, and you upgrade your special move. Right, so you don't even have to worry about being on a yellow space that upgrades your special move. It automatically upgrades it for you overall, man. And you know, it's just the way that these guys mesh together. It's pretty damn good. Again, you have a healer right here, right? With the Angel Vegeta. He has this ability, the You Are Number 1 ability. At the start of the third turn, he restores health by 3% for all your allies. It does not matter what tag you are in, and even if it did, they're all Vegeta family, so everything's looking pretty right here. And in terms of tiers, look at this. Most of these guys are Z tier. The only one that I have in S tier is going to be that Angel Vegeta right there, right? And you have a lot of options here as well. You have the Ultra Vegeta. You know, you have the Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta if you wanted to bring him, like this guy does right here, right? So, and then even the Death Buff Vegeta. I don't really even like that Death Buff Vegeta, but, you know, you can bring him as well. I think the biggest struggle here is with the green unit, at least for me. For me, it's definitely the green unit because I'm not a big fan of that Princess Trunks, and I don't exactly know what other Trunks I should replace him with. I know some people like to use this Kid Trunks right here. This Kid Trunks, this transforming one, I am not really a big fan of either. He's very, very squishy. It's just that Trunks and this Princess Trunks are pretty damn squishy overall in the long run. But either way, very, very solid team, and I also wanted to go ahead and talk about all the new units right here, right? All right, so for the final team that I want to go ahead and talk about, this is not necessarily part of my top teams because I don't even know if this is going to be a top team, but I'm going to try it. This is a team that I'm going to be using for my walkthrough video. It's something that you guys actually requested me to do. Is an event exclusive team right here, which is basically just Legends Road, but now I can add some other people to it. This free-to-play Goku specifically, right? So I think he's definitely going to be the highlight right here because he actually has the ability to heal. A very small heal, I'm not gonna lie, and I wish it was every single turn, but it's only at the end of the second turn allies in range, so only 3 blocks, not even the entire board. Restores health by 2%, as well as giving a 20% damage buff. So I guess he makes up for it a little bit right there. He's giving HP and a damage buff, so hopefully he performs well. He does buff the tag event exclusive, by the way. The only one that's not buffing everyone, but is receiving the buffs from everyone, is going to be this blue Cyberman, and I think it's still worth it, right, for him, right, because he's not buffing event exclusive. He's only buffing himself, basically, but just that blue card generation, right? We talked about him earlier when we were talking about minions. Every single turn, he's going to be getting 30% to special move gauge. That is absolutely amazing, right? So I think that's 100% worth it. I think one thing to note is when we look at S tier, you do have all the free-to-play Gokus on here. I think this blue Goku is better than this Trunks up here, but the only difference is that this Trunks is in Z tier while he's in S tier, so I'm gonna go ahead and be prioritizing the Z tier overall. But man, this guy, he actually has something that's really interesting to me. He has a cover change, but on blue cards, right? So before receiving a special move arts attack, he's gonna go ahead and do a cover change. So I don't know, I don't think you're really going to be seeing this too often, because ultimately you kind of want to avoid the blue cards in the first place. You always kind of take out the units that get a guaranteed blue card in the first place. So that's something that's a little bit odd to me. It's definitely different and definitely very unique, but he is very tanky. So he has a 30% damage cut, 40% to damage inflicted, and he has a buff against Saiyans. That's why I think he's probably going to be a little bit better than that Trunks. But that Trunks will be providing Zenkai buffs for the other Legends Road members, so I still do have hope for him. So stay tuned for the walkthrough on this team. And that being said, let's move on to the board. Alright, to just keep this simple, this is going to be an android heavy board. So if you have any units with buffs against androids, this is the time to bust them out. That's why I was pointing out the other units that that I was going over, right? So you have the Zenkai Piccolo, which we talked about for regeneration, and the EX Zenkai Blue Cell that you have for androids. Those are both very solid units in their own right. The main unit to really look out for is definitely Super 13. We don't see him here per se, right? He's not necessarily here, but if you do run into an android team with Super 13 on it, just remember, he does get a guaranteed blue card on turn 3. So you have to target him first, or at least very, very early on. You don't want to save him for last because you don't want to take that blue card to the face. 17 is a nuisance because he will eat blasts, and 16 will cover against blasts. And then this what is his name? MVP 17. He has a cover change against strikes. So it's a little bit annoying, but ultimately I think it might be worth it to just swap to strikes for this fight specifically. And make sure you guys are bringing in red units. Red units are free for this fight. There's going to be 2 yellow units for the most part. There is going to be 2 yellow units. I would say bring in a purple or 2, but tread cautiously because you still do have these yellows right here that can really, really mess you up. The other team I'm seeing a lot is GT teams, right? This is an incredibly annoying team, and I don't even really have a strategy for it. If you guys have a great way of dealing with this team, let me know in the comments down below. But both of these Shadow Dragons, man, are so damn annoying because they can use their greens to mitigate damage. Ice counters strikes, and Nova counters both strikes and blasts just one time each, but still, it's annoying that they do it nonetheless, right? You got a lot of support coming from this Majub and this Ultra Omega Shenron, and they both can heal, right? So this guy, I think he heals on his green card on the 2nd or 3rd turn, if I remember correctly. And this Ultra Omega, he heals once you get him below 50% HP. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And it's not even worth to really swap to all blasts here, right? Or I mean all strikes or anything like that. It's just because there's a cover rescue for everything. Like I said, not only do the Shadow Dragons have their cover or their damage mitigation of their own, but the Super 17, you also throw him in there, and he can eat blasts too. And if there is a Super Saiyan 3 Kid Goku on the team, he will also inflict you with Can't Attack on the very first turn. So just a massive nuisance, a very annoying team. I would probably, me personally, I might just want to avoid this, but it's a 5th stage, so you guys might want to just do it for the points anyways, but just know that you will be having probably a difficult time. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about is San family. So make sure to target Goten and Kaio Goku first, right? So this guy and this guy, they both get blue cards. Goten will get it at the start of turn 2, and then this guy will get it at the start of turn 3, basically. Guaranteed blues. So you want to kill them first. The only the only exception to that rule is that if the enemy has blue movie Gohan, then you will have to go after him first. You have no choice, right? You have no choice. That blue movie Gohan from the Broly Second Coming, he takes aggro for that entire first turn. So it's just, again, very, very annoying composition right there, because if you don't get through him in that first turn, then you're gonna get super Begotten. It's very annoying. It's a well-crafted team, right? I'm not gonna lie, but it's still very annoying. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about new characters. So the first one obviously is going to be this Goku and Vegeta, because they're definitely the coolest out of the new characters, right? So we can go ahead and take a look at our ToP stats. So we already kind of just went over these guys. I think the highlight is definitely the fact that they get 20% to special move gauge charge rate by 20%, right? And at the end of the second turn, they get 15% to special move gauge overall, as well as healing themselves. And they use the tag. They actually use the tag in battle, where they can reverse elemental factors twice, up to 2 times, so you don't really have to worry too much about a red unit targeting this guy. Or if you want to target a yellow with this unit, that's more than feasible. Next, we have this Trunks. Once again, we talked about him already too, but definitely very solid. 90% to damage inflicted, minus 20% to damage received. I would have probably liked to see a little bit more of a cut, but he's also getting a cut to damage every single time he receives a strike or a blast arts, right? That's actually very, very nice. He does have a 4 corners cover rescue, and he also has the gauge in action, where once he gets below 50% HP, he's going to recover health, he's going to increase his damage, and he's going to increase his ultimate damage if you guys can get it off. So once again, another very, very solid unit. I don't think they're broken though. I think when it comes to like broken or amazing units, is units like the Bird Q, right? That's an amazing unit right there. That's someone that is just absolutely juicy overall. But still, both of those units are incredibly good. And next we have the Zamasu Goku Black assist units. So we already talked about these guys as well. And the one thing holding these guys back, honestly, in my own opinion, is that God Key and Future, they have kind of like mediocre teams in terms of like ToP, right? They don't really have the best thing going on for them. Vados isn't a healer for God Key, and it really doesn't make sense. It kind of does suck, but these guys, like, all that aside, they have a massive sustained damage cut, right? 5% right there, 5% right there, 30% right there, and then, you know, you're also going to be putting debuffs on the enemy team, where you're going to give them a plus 20% to damage received, and you're going to deduct their key recovery by 20 for 2 turns as well. So you're kind of like making sure that you attack first in that sense, right? And then you have some damage inflicted. They're going to be able to heal by 2%, and every time they get hit, they're going to be charging up their blue card gauge. It's pretty solid overall. I really do like this unit a lot. I wish they did have better teams in ToP, but on regeneration, they'll fit in just fine. We just gotta wait for a more solid setup for Future and God Key. Now we got this guy right here too. I think this guy probably might be my favorite out of all the units in terms of ToP kit, just because he is so, like, his kit is definitely good. 30% to special move gauge right here on that first unique, and then he also stacks it every single time he receives a strike or a blast arts. 15% to special moves damage and 5% to special move gauge. So you know, once he does get his blue card off, it's gonna hit pretty damn hard. Plus, having the buff against Saiyans is always 100% helpful. Alright, so now we're going ahead and taking a look at this EX Frieza right here. Definitely nothing to write home about. These EX units, they only get 1 unique, right? So 30% to damage inflicted, minus 15% to damage received, and minus 20% to damage received. That's actually not too bad at all right there. And at the start of the turn, according to the number of allies remaining, he's going to be getting a 70% damage inflicted. This is actually, I would say this is pretty good, right? Because typically, you're going to want to have all your allies up in the first place. You're not really going to have anything less than that, than 6 allies, so you might be getting the full potential out of this regardless. But him being an EX unit, not necessarily having a crazy kit or anything, really hurts him, because of the fact that you're only going to have him at, for the most part, most of you guys are only going to have him at low stars. So overall, definitely a very mediocre unit for ToP. And in PvP, this guy's actually pretty bad in PvP as well. Alright, for the last unit, it's going to be mine. This is actually the only unit that I didn't pull from the banners. Let's go ahead and take a look at her TOP kit. Once again, it's an extreme. You're only going to be getting one unique, and at the start of the battle, you're going to be getting a buff for future or girls and self, plus 10% to damage inflicted, and minus 5% to damage received. This is, oh, I think I worded that wrong. So this is per future member or per girls member. She's going to be giving this buff to herself. And at the end of the turn, if there is an allied character Trunks remaining, you get 20% to own blast damage and 20% to strike damage inflicted by allied character Trunks. Once again, Future's kind of in a bad spot. Right, Future's pretty, not the best team for TOP, so I would say this is probably the worst unit out of all of them in terms of TOP, because you're so restrictive. You want to run her with Trunks, you don't really want to run her on a girls team, and if you're going to run her with Trunks, then you probably have to be using a Future team, in which Future is kind of bad overall. Right, so that being said, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for TOP. For the TOP, what is this? TOP 15 for this guide right here. Let me know what your guys' what team you guys are using in the comments down below. And oh, as always, make sure you guys are on the lookout for the guide, for the walkthrough video towards the end of the season. I think this time I'm gonna go ahead and split it up into 2 videos. Do like 12 TP for the first video and then 13 for the last one. That way I don't have to upload it too late, and so you guys can go ahead and use your energy, so there's not too much build up, and so I can cut down on the time, right? Because they actually get pretty damn lengthy, and it takes me about 2 hours to actually sit down and go through the entire thing. So let me know what you guys think of that, or if you guys think I should try out a different formats. That being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later!